We're off. First big game tonight. Watching the primetime game, Big Ten matchup. Minnesota and Penn State, the Nittany Lions taking care of business. Back to what we thought they would be. 45-17 over Minnesota. And a talented Minnesota team. Minnesota has been competitive with everybody. They've had some knockouts, but we got to see the Penn State that we thought in a whiteout game at home. Hack, I'll start with you. What was your biggest impressions of your boys tonight?
So I think my biggest impression is it kind of confirmed to me what I said about last week. And again, not to take anything away from Michigan, I don't think Penn State showed up in Ann Arbor, and I think that only exasperated the deficiencies that showed on the field that Michigan obviously took advantage of, and kind of put a big stamp and exclamation point on it. So that was a good thing for me, is seeing them get back on track. Shows that they got great veteran leadership, which is everything that I expected. But I was excited to see them use and utilize that tight end room this week. I think it's a very deep and talented room. I didn't really think that they used those weapons as efficiently as they could throughout the year up until this point. I still think they have some things to clean up, but ultimately, again, I think it was just a really good get back on track win against a good team, like you said, George. I mean, Minnesota, I had them winning the West this year in my preseason. They've obviously not lived up to expectations from that side of it, but definitely a very talented team and a really good defense. And they were able to take advantage of some things and do it in a pretty efficient manner. So excited about what they got coming down. I think Columbus. Yep, they got Ohio State at home next week. So
next week, Trevor, how much of today putting things back together, and we've all been there, a knockout loss and then a really good win. They only have a week to take this momentum and then go into Columbus with it. Obviously, they've been tracking Ohio State, and of any Big Ten team in the last 6 or 7 years, Penn State has the most wins against the Buckeyes. Can this crew use this momentum to do something special in Columbus, or really, what is their fate, do you think, coming out of this thing? Looking ahead.
This game specifically this week, I think you saw two teams that went opposite directions. You saw, like you mentioned, a Penn State team that responded after a bad loss and said, "Hey, we're going to pick ourselves up, we're going to dust ourselves off, and we're going to get back to who we are." Minnesota, yeah, I know they've played Illinois, who should win the West, and now Penn State back-to-back weeks, but I feel like their production's gone down. So I think coming into this one, they're moving in opposite directions. We'll see how Minnesota finishes the year, but moving into the rest of this season, specifically going to Columbus, I think the person that you circle on that Penn State team is Sean Clifford because of the experience that he has.
Yeah.
When you have an experienced quarterback, you can go in and rally the troops and win against anybody. And we've seen that. Penn State has the ability to go out and play football at a very high level. Take out the Michigan game, they can play at a very, very high level. And if number 14, Mini Hack, is out there balling, I'm not going to say they have a chance to beat Ohio State, but I'll put it this way, they have a chance to beat anybody. And if he goes out there and plays well, is efficient, doesn't turn the ball over, I think it's going to be a pretty appetizing game to watch.
Sean Clifford, 24-32 tonight, 300 yards. And Penn State also ran for 160 yards on the ground. It looks like they're starting to put things back together. Hack, your expectations next week, just looking forward, not predicting anything.
Yeah, just looking forward. I think they got to be more efficient running the football on first down. Early in this game, really the whole first half, they had a really hard time getting things going. A lot of 2nd and 9, 2nd and 8, 2nd and 10, 2nd and 11s. That's tough, and I think we've touched on this in past episodes about Cliff. I mean, Cliff, at the end of the day, for all the reasons that Trevor mentioned, is a really good football player, but his best friend's a really good complementary run game and kind of take the pressure off him and let him play free in that type of environment and that type of scheme. I don't think he's necessarily a guy who's going to go toe to toe with a CJ Stroud or a Bryce Young or, name one of the premier quarterbacks in the country for 4 quarters consistently. But That's what I think. I think they need to get the run game going. I think they need to include those tight ends again. I think there's some mismatch opportunities inside with Ohio State that they could take advantage of schematically. And then the defense needs to come out and eliminate the run game. I think that the one thing that I've seen Ohio State do this year more so than in past years is actually have a propensity and they try to establish the run. Whether it works or not, today they kind of struggled against a really good Iowa defense, but throughout this year, they haven't had a problem establishing the run game. I think that's benefited CJ and the rest of the offense from a passing game standpoint. So they need to come in and shut down the run. And I think Penn State can actually match up in the secondary with Ohio State fairly well. Joey Porter Jr., Johnny Dixon, Jair Brown, and Keaton Ellis, very veteran group. And I texted the group during the middle when Joey Porter had that breakup in the second quarter there. Like, the dude's an alien, man. He super long arms, can pretty much, like, if Jackson Smith and Jig was playing, I expect that matchup to be a fun one to watch.
Yeah. Styles make fights. By the way, our producer Trevor Valise just notified me this fight is not in Columbus. It's in State College. And I hope it's a prime time one at that.
Can I ask Hack a question? Speaking of State College, they had the whiteout tonight, and it is, even on TV, it's daunting. I mean, it really is. Give our fans, because I've never been to State College. It's a place that I certainly want to go visit, but you got everybody wearing white, rocking and rolling in that stadium. It's got to be a neat atmosphere and a tough place to play, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I've only been the home team there. But so you got to ask a couple other guys. But yeah, I mean, to me, if you're a college football fan and you're talking premier venues and you want to go see something, like, you got to go see it for yourself. You can't really put it in words, but it should definitely be on your list, and be very surprised if it wasn't. Even as a just Notre Dame fan, hell, go in there. I don't care. Anybody, you need to go experience it. It's pretty cool. So
I'll say this on the sideline. I think I've been to like 4 or 5 whiteouts when they're rolling, and usually, look, obviously it's when the defense is going on a third down. You could have a person standing next to you, elbow length away. You'd have to yell to them for them to even hear you, and they're still not going to understand you. The noise is deafening. We are going back and forth on the chat. I think the only place that rivals Penn State on a whiteout night is all those Cajuns and a night game in LSU. It's vicious. Penn State. I
was going to ask one more question based off of State College and Ohio State coming to town. If it was a night game.
It's a big noon. Trevor
It's a big noon game. If it was a night game, I think it's different. I think Ohio State, even though they're the road team benefits that it's a big noon game as opposed to a night game, right?
That's 100%. Too bad. I wish they'd move that.
You would think that they would, George, but
why would you not?
We don't get paid the big bucks.
We don't. But we certainly looking for a suggestion box. Big Ten, if you're looking, we're looking for a suggestion box. Penn State wraps it up tonight, 45-17. Gophers fall to 4-3. Penn State now moves on to 6-1.